This is our November 6th meeting of the WCAC. We are starting at 7:32. I just need to have you guys go around and say your names that you are here so that we can establish that we do have a quorum and who is present. So I'll just start and I'll say, I'm Susan Melota-Zenek and I'm here.
Anna Feldwig here. Is one of us taking notes?
Someone does need to do minutes, yes. So let's see, I'm wondering who out there might like to do minutes. There's also going to be an opportunity to write a letter, possibly after we debate something today. So there'll be a couple of writing things, and I'd love to get a volunteer for at least the minutes right now.
I volunteer for the letter.
Okay.
Oh, very good, Allison.
Well done, well done. All right. So I may see if I can volunteer Nicole for the minutes because I think you may not have done them in a while. And yes, I would rather have you be my plan A because plan B is me trying to use AI to create the minutes, and that sometimes doesn't go too well.
I'll do them, but I'm not going to take them tonight. I'll re-listen to the recording.
Okay, that works. Great. All right, so excellent. So Nicole will be doing the minutes. Oh, and
So
I
Anna
think we also-
Feldwig present.
Yeah,
Sorry.
great.
Yeah, Barbara Morse, present.
Great. Oh, Allison, you're on mute.
Allison Ailey present.
Great.
Nicole Hammond still here.
Excellent. All right. And it looks like we may have a member of the public, Christine, who is joining us. But anyway, we will learn more about that later.
So Christine Zale is the new senior planner in the planning division.
Oh,
She's
wow.
been with us since mid-August. So she's just I'm like dragging her to every meeting.
That's great. Well,
To
we're
expose her to everything.
yeah, that's a great idea. Awesome. Well, welcome, Christine. Okay, so let me throw the minutes up here from last time. Share. Sec. All right, I'm not sharing the right thing, but I will be in a second. That's our current agenda. All right, we're gonna just click on that. Okay, so this was our December 2nd meeting. Barbara, did you get anyone doing edits to these or not?
Yes, I did do editing.
You did editing, okay, because when people got back to you, okay, great. So,
No one, oh, two people got back and said it looked fine.
okay, okay. Planning department. I'm gonna just change that here. So like Concord planning department and Wendy, I'm gonna just capitalize this. Great, 2 members of the public. Okay. Minutes. Okay, this unresolved issue is something that I didn't put on the agenda for us tonight, but maybe we can talk about putting it on the agenda for December because we should resolve this. Who can join, basically? Okay. Improvement District. Economic Vitality Committee. Okay, that's another thing we should get back to. Okay. Private parking. Okay. Okay, this all looks accurate and good to me. Did anyone else have changes they wanted to suggest?
No.
Okay,
So this worked pretty well. Anna sent me her notes. And I just did a little bit of editing and then sent them around.
okay,
And that means we could actually get them posted pretty quickly.
yes.
Okay,
Yes, which is great. And honestly, like this also helps remind us to keep continuity with topics we were talking about during past meetings. So it's great that we have these from the most recent one. Okay, so we should take a vote on approving these and then we can get into the topics that we have on our agenda. And if there's time, I'd love to circle back to a few of these things here and they might actually come up during our discussion tonight. But I feel like the business improvement districts and the economic vitality committee is certainly something that might bear some more exploration. But let's go ahead and vote on these. So what do I say? I nominate that these meeting minutes should be final. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Great. And I guess we can just take like a roll call vote on it. Let's see. Anna, do you approve the minutes?
Yes, I approve.
Barbara, do you approve?
I do.
Allison, do you approve?
I do.
Nicole, do you approve?
I do.
Awesome. Okay, and I approve too. So these meeting minutes are unanimously approved and we can file them with Heather Carey, who is usually the person who puts them up on the website. Great. Okay, so let's get into our agenda.
John is here too. He just
Oh, great.
joined.
Hi, John. Cool.
Hey guys,
All right.
sorry, I just got done with bedtime. And Greg says he's still doing bedtime, by the way.
Okay. All right, we'll look forward to him joining when he's done with that. So we just got through approving the minutes. Housekeeping, maybe I should go back and talk about that a little bit. Our next meeting is coming up on December 4th. That's a Wednesday, the first Wednesday in December. I'm hoping we can all be present for that. Because I think it would be great to like tie off some of the things we've been working on during this year. And then also talk a little bit about what we want to accomplish next year. So I feel like we can put that on the agenda for next month. Does anyone know that they're not going to be able to make it to that meeting, just since I have you all here?
Nope, looks fine right now.
Oh, good. Okay. Our committee needs to put together kind of like an annual report of what we have accomplished this year. And that's not something that we need to do tonight, but I just want to plant the seed that we can be thinking about things we might want to include. And this does not need to be anything like overly, voluminous or anything, but it needs to be kind of a summary that every town committee has to do about what they have accomplished during the past year. So we'll put that on the agenda for next time as well, but just kind of be thinking about what things you think.
For the annual report?
Yeah. Have you done one of those before in another committee?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, it's my impression that they can be quite succinct, but let me
Yep.
know if you, okay, yeah.
Yep.
That's good.
Couple of brief paragraphs.
Yes, right. Okay, so let's see. The next item on our agenda is this community preservation, I think it's committee application for improvements at the Giroux property. And I sent around the document a couple days ago, but I can pull it up here. This is the thing that we may, if we agree, may want to write a letter on. Did anyone have a chance to take a look at this?
Yep.
Great, okay. So let's see, in summary, my takeaways, and I did also talk to a member of the CPC who explained it a little bit more to me, but essentially this money, which is $90,000 that the CPC is being asked to fund, would go towards analyzing the what it would take to create access to the water using some sort of boat dock or launch that sounds like it might be kind of like floating in order to accommodate the differing water level that is possibly going to be present in Warner's Pond, and have a playground and some paths and landscaping improvements. So this again is not to do the work actually, but it is to have a consultant analyze what's possible and then provide what the cost would be. And I think that consultant would also put together a plan and budget for maintaining the park that's already built features and also the additional features that it's going to study. So again, this would provide information to the town as to how much it would cost if they were to go forward with these improvements, which I think are being called phase 2 of Giroux. Let's see. Is there anything else that those of you who looked at this proposal wanted to mention about, you know, anything you observed in the proposal or anything else you wanted to talk about?
I had a question about the letter. Like, is it a letter that contains a lot of detail, like our feedback about the proposal, or is it just a letter of support that doesn't say very much? Like, do you know what the level of specificity they're asking for is?
Yeah, it can be quite general. Like I was looking at the other letters that have been submitted so far, and they're on this current meeting documents page for CPC. But like the ORS letter is a page and a half and does have like suggestions and a bunch of different information about their organization. Let's see. Actually, Nancy Giroux, who was part of the family that donated the land, her letter is basically like 3 very short paragraphs.
And do we feel, do we have a specific role to play in this, or is it just to raise our hands and say, yes, we're in support? Or
yeah, so kind of the way these funding requests work is like any committees that are tangentially or directly involved with the request, if they are in support of it, they would write a letter saying that, to kind of show the CPC that there's a groundswell of positive interest in this this funding for this project. So you can see this ORS one, it talks a little bit about the water quality and all of that stuff in Warner's Pond, but we would not have to go to those lengths. And we would only write a letter like this if we agree that we are in support of the $90,000 being spent to study this.
It was my understanding that they're asking for money to finish things which were already part of the original proposals and not anything particularly new or different. It was hard because, of course, they did the whole history of the project going back many years.
Yes.
It's hard to tell, is this just let's kind of finish these things up?
Yeah.
Or is it the next step in what may be 10 more steps?
I think
No,
it's
I think-
oh, go ahead.
Well, my understanding is that this was in the original 2018 plan, some of these things. And the money that was available was used. So this is to get a little more money to try to finish those original ideas. And I don't think there's like a phase 3 or 4 or anything planned at this point. I think it's just 2. I have to say that I'm a little bit involved in this, which I was surprised to see it come up here, but I had expressed interest in giving my opinion about about some of these final things. And so me and 2 other people are meeting on Friday with Recreation and Public Works, just to kind of talk about some of these things. So I don't know if I think this was submitted before any of that happened. So one of the things I wanted to say was that I'm obviously in favor of this, but there is a meeting on Friday, and I wanted to ask them if anything had changed since September about the plan.
I think if they've already submitted it in last September, they can't change anything for this
Oh, I see.
request.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
CPC applications are all due in September. So I
Okay.
think this is
So
just.
this is what it is.
Right.
Okay.
The only concern I had, but it was I think in some of the earlier suggestions about what could be at Giroux Park eventually,
Mhm.
was something about a bandstand. And I'm thinking, it's a pretty residential area. And they may or may not be interested in having weekly band concerts in their, or even monthly, I don't know. But that does not seem to be a part of this particular proposal at all.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't heard of the bandstand until I read this as
Okay.
listed in, I don't think it's going forward, but I don't know any more than that.
Nicole, do you have a comment?
I do. I was just wondering if the scope of something like this type of project would change given what's gonna happen with the MCI land. That you might want it to be more
Yeah, I think, I mean,
driven.
sorry, I was talking over you. Can you say the last thing again?
If you would want something to be more community driven, there's gonna be a lot more residents with the MCI land. And as well as the parcel of land that was going to be developed for 40B that would love to have access to a park like this. Would their needs change once those areas are developed?
Elizabeth, do you have a comment on that?
So my, I'm, let me see. So, yes, something is going to happen at MCI Concord, but we're talking, 3, 4 years from now. The current plan is, you go through the visioning, next year, and you go through developing zoning. You get zoning adopted at 2026 annual town meeting. The state goes out and issues requests for proposals for developers to develop the site. Then that developer has to go through a permitting process. So more than likely, you're now into 2027 before somebody starts work. And then, you're talking at least probably a year or even more, depending on, what type of, demolition, site remediation, all of that has to happen. So, I'm kind of reluctant to not move forward with good projects, to wait and see what happens with MCI Concord. Just, that's 3, 4, maybe even 5 years from now before the first person, actually calls the place home.
Yeah, maybe in our letter, we could put a sentence or two just saying that we encourage I guess it's the rec department who is leading this, when they issue their RFP, to ask the consultant to do some scenario planning perhaps, and say, like, if the amount of usage of these amenities is going to potentially double, within 5 years, like, would they have a recommendation for light usage or heavy usage or something like that? Is that kind of what you're getting at, Nicole?
Exactly. And, for $90,000, and I understand that I know that MCI, any change is not going to happen for an extremely long or a long time. So I just don't want to waste $90,000 and then have to redevise everything that was planned at this time without thinking about the future.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I feel like Ors wrote a 1.5-page letter, and we could certainly, put in some sentences of guidance that, saying we are supportive of this, if that's what we choose to say, but also we would encourage them to develop scenarios that account for increased population and usage of this. Barbara?
I seem to recall that there is something mentioned about acknowledging that MCI Concord area will be developed at some point in time. So that's on their radar already.
Yeah. Oh, I can't search this. Yeah.
You're gonna hunt for it?
Well, this doc was scanned, I think, and so
Oh,
where I'm viewing it, I can't do a like finding of a
Yeah.
word, unfortunately, but it is, you're right, it's here because I read
it's in
it.
there somewhere.
Yeah. Support by boards, committees. Let's see. I think it's disability. Hmm.
And the other thought I had about this, although I don't think this is the right place for it, but we heard from the people about what history took place in this area.
Mhm.
And Giroux, the land where the Giroux had their house was where the command station was for that meeting.
Mhm.
And you know, if they're planning to develop it, there should just be sort of somewhere in somebody's plan, the fact that there needs to be some historical information. I guess we could put that in the letter. I mean, it's not about sort of building structures, but I think it is an important thing not to forget about.
Yeah. Right. Like, I mean, if they end up naming the playground, maybe there's a way to name it in a way that refers back to that history. For instance, like I feel like there's always ways to work in paying homage
War
to history.
playground.
Yeah, I don't know. We might have to work on that,
That'd be
but
edgy.
yeah. Um, yeah, okay. All right, so we were thinking about the amount of usage because of MCI and possibly like Novo and other developments. So this kind of shows how the spending would break out, the survey, engineering, budget. Okay, so let's see. Are we in the position to take a vote on whether or not we want to write this letter? Does anyone else have questions or comments?
No, I'd be in support of a letter.
Okay,
Thank you. And Anna already
Good.
volunteered to write the letter, so.
I know, yeah. Great. Nicole, what about you?
I support a letter, certainly. I just, why, eyes wide open, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then I just want to make sure, do we have John on?
Yeah, I am supportive. Yep.
Okay, great.
I do as well.
Oh, Greg, you're here. Awesome.
I did.
Excellent.
Sorry, bedtime.
Yeah.
It's to bed went a little over. Apologies.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. So it sounds like we're unanimously in support of writing the letter, which Anna has graciously volunteered to write. And Anna, you can, I think, take inspiration from some of the other letters that are already written in terms of, like brevity, maybe. So you don't have to go too crazy. They're here in case you want to refer to them. And then I think we had said we want to put in a sentence or two about just asking them to plan for a higher volume of people using that playground / those amenities that they're scoping out because the population is growing in that part of West Concord. Anything else kind of like special that we want to put into the letter?
Should I put a line about the history and?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that'd be great. And another thing I was thinking about is like, I couldn't think of any other public playground in West Concord that's not associated with the schools. Like, so a playground in the village area besides Rideout. And can you guys think of anything else? Because I couldn't think of another one. And I feel like this land would be a great place for one.
No, I don't think there's another one besides. Yeah.
So, and then I know that the water access, it was clarified to me that it would not necessarily be like supporting swimming at the pond, but it's more to support fishing and other like canoeing, perhaps water pursuits that don't involve like submerging yourself in the water and splashing around purposely.
Yeah,
Not that
that's-
that needs to
that's-
go into the letter, but yeah.
No, that's my understanding too, because I think people, I think there's environmental reasons not to have a beach, but also just volume wise. Like if we don't necessarily want another Walden Pond or White Pond, because it's a much smaller sort of area.
Mhm.
And that doesn't mean people couldn't dive off a dock if they wanted to and cool off. So it's not, and the water is clean. It's not, it's mucky, but it's not polluted. So people could swim if they wanted to, like they used to years ago. It's just that it wouldn't be encouraged like with a proper beach.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I think we have enough information to get that letter drafted. What we should do is if you could do the letter, Anna, and then email all of us with the letter, we can get back to you separately on feedback, and then you would get that feedback all together, finalize the letter, and then I would say send it. The person to send it to is Paul Bohm at CPC, and I can give you his email address, just, in an email after this.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think he had been looking for the letter before their next meeting, which I think is the 19th, but he had said it'd be ideal to have the letter by the 15th. So that is, let's see.
We can do it this weekend.
Week and a half now. Okay, yeah. Great. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Our next agenda item is our awesome master plan and the associated implementation matrix. And we have like 20 more rows to get through here. I'm very positive that we can get through them during this meeting, I'm hoping. We'll take a pause at say like 8:30 and see where we are. But just to refresh everyone on why we're doing this is we're trying to just like account for what remains to still be done and what we believe still should be done. That was gathered as like kind of a checklist of improvements for West Concord when that master plan was done like 14 years ago. And we're going to be making sure that any other committee who kind of engages with that kind of information has access to it, but specifically the MCI committee, I think, should have this. It's my understanding they're issuing an RFP for a consultant to help them that they are going to be procuring for like during December or something like that. And so I think we do want to have this finished if we could, to be able to give to their consultant and make sure it goes into the package of analysis that's happening. Does that sound about right, Elizabeth, or am I pushing too much on the timing? Is that okay? All right.
Yeah, and this might make sense. I know liaison assignments are later, but I have been attending the MCI advisory board, and on Monday they talked about this RFP and the criteria and things like that, and they talked about the list of stakeholders that there's going to be outreach to, and I confirmed with Mark Howell that the advisory committee is on that list of stakeholders. So at some point, as I don't know, maybe Elizabeth knows, I don't know the timing of talking to stakeholders. They want to be as inclusive as possible, but we should agree as a committee what we want to say at that point, the concerns we had. And then the only other thing I'll say is they were talking about the criteria for the proposals and things, and they were focusing solely on Envision Concord. Whereas a month or two ago, they had talked about looking at the West Concord master plan, even though that's, quite old. But I did encourage them to look at the planning themes or the criteria in the West Concord master plan as well, because I know that the Warner's Pond task force, found that the Envision Concord criteria were too broad for their specific purposes, so they added to those. And they had talked about doing that at the advisory board as well. So I think that's what I had to share about that. And it seemed like a good.
Okay. That's a great update. So is it your perception that they would want us to come to a meeting or set up a special meeting for us to get together to talk? Are they like making their way through all these stakeholder groups and giving them like 15 minutes each? Maybe Elizabeth knows about this. Elizabeth.
So that the question can't be answered at this time.
Okay.
So they're hiring a community engagement consultant to help with community engagement, and that person will partner with the planning consultant working with the visioning process and the zoning process. Part of the proposals that they're going to be looking at is going to be, so how are you going to do in community engagement? Here's a list of stakeholders we thought. What do you think the best idea is? So that just hasn't been answered yet.
Got it. Okay.
But what I can do is the comment about incorporating into the documents that the consultants get. I can get the West Concord master plan, in there as well. So
Great.
I will take care of that one right now.
Awesome. That's great. And then once we finish our matrix, I mean, I'm supposing like once we finish our matrix, we need to extract the learnings from that. Like, I don't know. Yes, someone might want the raw data, but perhaps what we need to do is like an executive summary that kind of tells people what we found by doing this exercise. Does that sound like the right deliverable? Or do you think they're just going to want like the data and they will pull their own conclusions from it?
No, I think, the work that you've put into, updating this matrix, you are currently, the best to make, recommendations or suggestions on moving forward. And, so that, I think including that, either in the matrix form or, or separately, whatever's the easiest. I think including it in the matrix form kind of helps. Focus each idea and the conversation, similar to what the planning board does every year with the Envision Concord action items. They, kind of monitor, each of the things they're doing and assign, okay, this is no longer valid, or this is something that, is a long-term, 3 years out, 5 years out. So I think something similar, is helpful.
Okay.
Also with the understanding, I've put in for the capital request for the funding, starting in July 1 of 2026, is when the town should be starting the 2-year process to update the long range plan again.
Okay.
So that's not far off.
No. Yeah. Okay.
July 1st, 20. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes my calendar, my head gets mixed up with fiscal years. So.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Okay. So those are great, I guess, uses for the matrix for us to keep in mind.
One thing, I don't know if we talked about it yet, but when Linda and I were looking through it and talking to Steve Dukran, the master plan was done, as we know, a long time ago, and Giroux Park was not owned by the, so there's a big focus of open space and recreation opportunities and things in the, but Giroux Park would need to be added in.
Okay. Yep. I think there's a line in the matrix that is somewhat like disassociated from the others. It's highlighted in green that mentions Giroux, and I can't remember how that got in there. I'm not sure if it was always in there or if
It
we
might
put
have been
there.
Linda, like when we were trying to,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, okay, great. So we probably need to describe that so that it's like accurate to what today's array of recreational land is. Okay, cool. All right, so I'm gonna share this and we are going to continue on our journey. Master plan, this is it right here. Let me manage all my screens. It says participants cannot see your screen. That's Greg's. Okay. Can you all see the matrix?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I think we stopped on row 50 before, and so I'm going to continue on with 51. So we got through John's items. I think this row 50 was one of John's. Yes, okay. So we're getting into Greg's items right now. So this row 51 is Main Street Streetscape Improvements, Segment 1. We painted the crosswalks. And updated. Is there anything that you wanted to share about this in terms of, segment 1 must be, okay, from Bridge to Com Ave, selected street planting sites, planter boxes, etc. Bike racks, public art. Yep, Junction Park. Yeah, I would say Junction Park is the big highlight there.
Yeah, it just seemed like everything that I had come in contact with had like, based on the description,
Mm-hmm.
it had like a percentage of it done. It wasn't like
Yeah.
it was all done.
Yeah.
But like flower boxes or like, like the hanging flower pots that are on the lights, like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
on the street lamps, like that type of stuff. Updated curbs and stuff like that for like the crosswalks with the bike route and all that. Like those were all updated. But it always seemed like there was like one or two little things that you're like, I don't really see that. You know what I mean? Like I don't see that. And I probably drove like each section of it probably 3 times. And I walked it a little bit just to see what was kind of missing. And it really wasn't like, for every single one, it wasn't like there was something, things were repainted, roads were redone, curbs were redone. Like, but then there was like one thing that I go, oh, I don't really see that, but I don't know if was part of the plan or what. Like it just, I mean, they could add it if they wanted to, but it looks like it looks good,
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I would say this is probably mostly done. I mean, there aren't there aren't tree boxes like down by, I don't know, the Wagon Wash or is that by, or like the West Concord Shopping Plaza. But I would say at Junction Park, everything is in good order and looks much better than it used to. So we'll just say that this is for the most part complete.
Yep.
Okay.
What's missing in a lot of places are benches. And there's been discussion.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, Barbara.
Yeah.
There was benches definitely missing in areas that they, that were clearly called out in a lot of these. So saying, hey, there's, street furnishing, like benches, bike racks. There's kind of a lack of those too.
Okay.
I think there's one, isn't there one over by the junction, I believe? One bike rack over there?
Yeah, bike rack, but in the junction and there are benches there too. But if we're thinking about a broader.
Right, but if you go outside of that in the West Concord area, there's other parts that are missing.
been a topic of discussion at Green Thumbs for years, and why they haven't managed to get some more benches in, I don't know. But maybe if we mention it, it will keep moving.
Yeah.
Is this a place that we would mention the idea of removing, I know it's much bigger than us, but like the idea of the streetscape being improved by removing parking from half of the side of the road and replacing it with a bike lane? As we have talked about sort of periodically.
Maybe, although I wonder if there's like a section of transportation infrastructure. I'm not sure if there is, but it's parks, open space and trails, infrastructure. Let me just do a quick search for parking. Ooh, 39. Oh, but it's, yeah, so streetscape and parking. Where else? Transportation network.
I don't believe that was, I think that's a new idea. I don't think that was proposed in this original plan.
Okay.
And because we talked about it as a new idea for,
No, we talked about, yeah, I know we did. And I didn't know because I hadn't been through this with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
If anyone had said it, you know, added it or it was here in some form, but
So remove street parking on one side.
and we're talking about the block from the Village Tavern to Tea Cakes or Twin, right?
Probably go
Seafood,
all the way to
like-
Com Ave, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right, yeah, we'll put that here and we'll figure out a way to work it in. Because you're right, we shouldn't restrict ourselves to just the ideas that were proposed here. We can have like a section for incremental great ideas.
We also add crosswalks for Church Street and 60 and Main Street from Village Tavern to the dance studio. And I think there's one other crosswalk that's missing if we're going to add to new ideas.
Okay. So new idea 1 and then 2. Oops.
I do see people running across
Yeah.
and it's not safe, and they often have kids.
People run across even when we have crosswalks. Crosswalk will be 15 feet away and they'll run. It drives me nuts.
the other one was Church Street, Susan.
Oh, sorry. Yep. Okay. And then Church Street. So is that kind of like where the dry cleaners is, just kind of crossing
Yeah.
Church Street? Okay.
Yeah, from like Tea Cakes to Church to the other side of Church Street.
There is some kind of requirement about the distance that a crosswalk has to be, I think, from a stop sign. Elizabeth, can you refresh my memory? Maybe not. So I think there's a reason that there may not be a crosswalk right there in terms of where one is allowed to put a crosswalk relative to where cars stop.
Okay.
Right, there's the standards in engineering that they have to meet for the installation of a crosswalk. And you are right, typically, at the end of a road where cars are stopping, that's why they don't like what's called mid-block crosswalks. Because drivers, you're going at speed and you're less aware. So there's really specific criteria that has to be met for the installation of crosswalks, sight distances and roadway speeds and all of those things.
Okay. Should we, before we propose something like this as a new idea, check in with Public Works to just say, these are ideas where crosswalks could go. Are these legally viable? We know that there might not be money to do it at the moment, but are they legally viable? Is that something that we should take upon ourselves to check, or should we just include the ideas and then other people will figure out what's legal and not?
I always think it's best to, when you have an idea, to include here's our idea. Need to check with Concord Public Works Engineering
Mm-hmm.
on feasibility. Tie it to, that mechanism of kind of what needs to happen to either, advance the project or find that it's not feasible. And
Okay. Okay. Great. All right. So then we have Main Street Streetscape Improvements Segment 2. This is Junction Park to Fowler on Main. Selected street tree planting sites, extensions, furnishings with cracks, etc. So not on Com, but on Main. They repainted the crosswalks at one point and curbs have been updated around Junction Park. Okay, so like Greg, when you were taking a look at that portion of Main that goes between, say, the Tavern and Fowler,
Mhm.
did you observe any other sort of like amenities for pedestrians or cyclists or anything like that?
No, not that area. From like that, that point that runs up from West Village to the left, heading towards Maynard, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That was the one area where I was like, I don't see anything here. I mean, you can
Yeah.
tell that like there was this little stuff done,
yeah,
but it may not have been something on this list, you just don't know.
yeah,
It's just kind of like when when I compared it to it, I was just like, well, not really much of this stuff was done on this part of the road.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I
Okay.
think there was, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this is kind of like the exit of leaving West Concord Village, like
Yeah,
and I'm just like, maybe that's why they hadn't really focused on it that much. Um, I would have thought at least around Fowler, they don't even really have any outside benches there to sit outside Fowler. There's some out back, like
yeah.
that's in that little fenced in area, you know.
Don't they have tables and chairs?
Yeah, in the summer, I think they bring tables and chairs out like by the tree in front, but maybe
Right.
it's not out now. I don't know.
I don't remember seeing them there this summer, but I mean, obviously, I know they did it at the main library, but
Yeah,
but they
I've
down
done it in
there,
Fowler too, yeah.
yeah.
And Fowler has nice gardens along the walkway going up.
Yep.
okay. So the improvements are mainly like in Junction Park and also at Fowler, but in between maybe is sort of a no man's land that has some opportunity.
Well, yeah, you have a couple of residential houses that's kind of in between as well. So
I remember, I almost never walk on that, but I was at a meeting at Harvey Wheeler and then going down to the tavern. And so I walked down the stairs and that space, and there's there's a spa. I don't know how new it is, but I'd never noticed it before. But it really has a different feel because there's nothing done on that. Like, as you say, it's like the exit and no attention. And if they're gonna try and make that a walkable, nice place, it would be nice to have that look like the rest.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the other thing that I don't know, I didn't see it today when I dropped my son off, and I didn't even notice it yesterday. I went to vote, but they've had that stairwell at Harvey Wheeler kind of blocked off on the backside. And I didn't look at it the other day, but I always, every once in a while I try to cut down there and I'm like, wait a minute, it's still blocked off. Like they don't, the stairwell is not fixed up yet or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't check yesterday to see if they'd ever updated that or not. But that's another thing that I'm like, that doesn't, it's a nice little cut through if you're trying to get down there from that parking lot,
Yeah. I think that stairwell may be like dangerous and not, I don't know, like I think it's in bad repair.
So, I think check with the facilities director
Mhm.
So kind of like, checking with Public Works Engineering on something. This would be, checking with the facilities director on,
Is it down to Main Street?
yeah.
Yeah,
It's down to
Yep.
Main or
it cuts down from the Harvey Wheeler parking lot right down
Yeah.
to
Okay,
Right there.
Main Street.
okay. Okay. So we can call this improvement, what would you say, like mm, mostly not done, partially done? Just trying to get a sense.
I would say it's a partially done thing.
Needs
We do
improvement.
have- It needs improvement.
Yeah, it needs-
Continue improvement needed.
Okay. Let us then move on to number 53. Let's see. So this is Junction Park to Church Street.
Mhm.
Selected street tree planting sites. Da, da, da. Okay. Planters, curbs, lampposts, crosswalks, and the little sitting area that is across from tea cakes has been updated as well. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff. And they just, and it looks kind of weird, like the ATM building's finally gone too. So it's like all open there now. And
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
this is totally weird because I've known that ATM building to be there for, 10 plus years or I mean, longer than that. But as long as I've been living in West Concord, it's always been there.
Wow.
And then the other day I was walking down, like when I walked around and looked, I was like, oh my gosh, the ATM's gone. Like, of course it was, what was it? How long ago did they decommission that thing? It hadn't been an ATM for a while.
I think it was
Yeah. So did they
It's-
put like a plant there or something? Like, what are they doing to
They
make
just
that?
took it down and cleared it out. It's actually parking spaces now.
No, it's beautiful plantings.
Yeah, I saw in the planting there too. Yeah, they just kind of expanded on it from that little
It's a
park.
beautiful garden, and when it grows up, it'll be great.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see. I think maybe this one we could say is complete. It seems like
Yeah.
this is like a really nice stretch actually of
Mhm.
comment. Okay. Great. And then this next one is,
Hey guys, I have a meeting I have to drop off.
okay. Thanks for joining, John. We'll talk to you
Thank
later.
you. Take care.
Bye. Okay, so Church Street to Kenny Dunn Square. This is also on ComAv, I'm guessing. Yes, ComAv. Same stuff. Planters, curbs, lampposts, crosswalks. Kenny
Yep.
Dunn, Updated sidewalks also replaced. Yeah, this area is in pretty good shape too.
I don't know about benches, but everything else I think is good.
Yeah, again, that's another area that lacks benches. You've got a couple of spots that have like chairs out front, but like that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
And those chairs are put there by the business owners,
yeah.
like I know that what is it called? Why am I blanking?
Deborah's maybe?
Deborah's.
Deborah's has some benches.
The what's the name of the place there next to the shoe guy? The little place on the
Oh, either
Glasses?
Goswick Eye, maybe?
Salt box.
Salt box. Salt box
Salt
has
box.
like a couple little tables they put out front there. They put a couple little tables out, but that's pretty much it from what I see, besides like one or two little chairs that Deborah's puts out there,
Yeah.
or little benches or whatever.
They have picnic, Deborah's has some pretty large picnic tables, and the only reason why I know this is because when I had to do my section of this matrix, I went to one of them and I had everything laid out. And I was like, oh, this is a pretty big table. And I saw other people, they have some games there too.
I
Oh,
mean, in one of the alleyways?
Yeah,
Or behind
exactly.
it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
in the alleyway. Yep.
Or that a lot of kids were playing, and they have another large section of community gathering.
I mean, so this area would be a place that you could do something like they had done in Lexington, where they, if you remove the parking, you'd have enough space for a bike lane, I think, and also some seating in the opposite order, bike lane towards the road and seating in front of the stores,
mm-hmm.
where people could sit and have coffee, like, little tables and chairs. I don't mean to like, it's just my idea. If people don't agree with it, they should say, but like, there would be space if we, to make it more of a place where you stopped
Yeah.
and spent time.
I can't remember who said it, but someone said, maybe it was in this meeting, that the business owners would not be psyched to lose
Yeah, it was in this
parking
meeting.
in front of their businesses.
It was in this meeting, but I mean, isn't this the place that we can sort of suggest things and we know
Yeah,
that
no,
it would
yeah.
have to be, yeah. I mean, it's obviously not up to us only.
We probably need to collect some data on what the business owners think about parking and access to parking. Do they think it's hurting their businesses? Have they ever thought about the idea of shared parking? It kills me sometimes to see some of those parking lots empty
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the middle of the day
Yeah.
for no particular reason except the restaurant's not serving at that point.
Yeah.
But I think, before we can make the idea suggestion, but I think we need to figure out what they think about it. We can
Yeah.
guess.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to like later on in our agenda get to that. But let's see if we can plow through a few more of these rows before we transition to talking about something else. So this particular one, 54, it seems like we could call this one mostly complete. I feel like this part of ComAv is fairly well cared
Yeah.
for.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anna, did you mean removing parking on this part of Commonwealth as well? Down in front of Deborah's and Salt Box and all of that, or are you still referring up by Woods Hill Table?
Well, I think depending on what the appetite for it is, I mean, that whole central area could be, the parking could be moved behind the stores if people were up for it, and you could have more gathering space on the whole stretch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Lexington has much wider streets, but there's seating of different types all up and down it. And it's like, there's all these different sort of zones. And
Yeah.
it's really nicely done.
Yeah, those sidewalks on the side where like Mario's Italian restaurant is though, they're like double the width. They're huge. So they do allow for those like seating areas with the with the trees and everything that's there. On the other side, it's just a normal sidewalk, but like they really thought it out well because the road is a double lane all the way down the middle. And then you also have that great green space that's down by where the Chinese food restaurant used to be. I don't know if it's still there, but and then and then you go further down and there's the common. So I mean, it's like the double wide like crosswalk. Whenever they figured that out, it like changed the game over there because it's so much more utilized. Some of the restaurants have seating out there, like Bertucci's and a few others. And it's just they did a really good job in Lexington Center.
They have a lot more space and they
Yeah.
also have a lot more public parking in the back.
Yeah, right.
I think that's what prohibits us. And if we could figure out a way for more public parking, I think it's a phenomenal idea. But they definitely have wider streets and they have more public. I go to Lexington a lot. My kid's pediatrician was there, but in the center. So
Yeah. It's obviously, it's different, but
yeah,
inspiring.
exactly. Aspirational.
Yeah. All right, so then moving on to this next one, this is about the same things for the Harrell Street extension, which I think is like where Salt Box is. It's
That's
that
that
street
turn
that's-
right
yeah,
there.
perpendicular. Yeah.
And it's just, let's put it this way, it's not wide enough to do anything. There's really not much there. You've got a building on one side, and then you come to the that big island that's right before you get to the to that back building there where where like Orange Theory is and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's not much you can do with it. You can't put a sidewalk in there. It's just not wide enough, and so for them to put this here, I was just kind of like, there's nothing there. You can't do anything there. You know, what really inhibits it, like really like limits is that sorry, limits it. Why am I having a problem speaking? What limits that is the fact that you have that dance academy right there that's so tight right to the road. You really can't do much there, you know? And it's like when I walk down, if I park out back there or something and I walk out front with my family, it's like you gotta watch for cars coming down there because because there's just no space for anything, you know?
Yeah.
So for them to put those same stipulations on that road, it doesn't make sense. It's too short too. It's just a short cut through, you know?
Yeah.
So
Would you say there's space to add a sidewalk there, Greg, or would that like completely?
not with the way I mean, not with the way it's broken up and with how tight that building is. Because when you're driving down there, if I drive down there, like say with my truck, okay,
Mhm.
I drive down there with my truck. There's another car coming the way. Even a small car is pretty tight to me. It's not
Mhm.
it's not like you have much play. So I mean, to put
Okay.
in a sidewalk, it wouldn't make any sense. You wouldn't be able to get two cars down that road, in my opinion. You
Yeah.
know, so, and then on the other side, there's so many entrances to like go in behind the main street there, like the building there. They have that one cut over right in front of that, like, what is it, a window company or something that's back there?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
turn before it. Then right after that's the post office. So what are you putting in? Like like maybe 20 feet worth of sidewalk there? It
Mm.
doesn't make sense, you know?
Yeah.
And it's going to be broken up by entrances all the way along that way. So you're wasting your money. Now there is a sidewalk that is, I believe there is a sidewalk that is attached to that little island that's between the post office and the building out back. But it ends once you get to where the post office ends as you're walking out towards the main road.
Okay.
But it's probably only again like maybe 30 feet of a sidewalk, and then it's broken up by 3 different entrances. So after that,
Okay. All right. So this, I mean, should we classify this as like, difficult to improve or maybe not a priority given the different challenges that you've just mentioned? Like
it's just not
physically, it just
something, it doesn't make sense unless you take out a building. Like
Yeah.
literally, that's what it is, you
Okay.
know?
Priority unless buildings removed. Which is what I'm gonna- Okay, then this next one here, Bradford streetscape improvements.
Now to Anna's point of like getting rid of parking and doing stuff like that, this is the road that I feel like has the most potential to do something with it because you have the space. You could actually put the sidewalk in because there is no sidewalk on there as you turn the corner. There's no
Mhm.
street lights, and you could put essentially extra parking there so that if we did go and eliminate some of if it was possible or feasible to eliminate parking from the main road so that you can put in a bike lane, then at that point you could have the parking on that side road on Bradford that goes all the way down. You know, so
Yeah.
it is feasible, and you can run that all the way down to, I mean, essentially you could run that all the way down to the backside of the ride out, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and again, at Bradford, I don't even know, is that parking lot back there, is that accessible for using for public parking, or is that's private for the building out back? Because they have so much space back there.
I know.
I
Yeah.
you know to that? I mean, I'm assuming it's Bradford's parking, and which is why no one
Yeah,
ever
it's-
parks.
Yeah, it's just a private parking lot, and I do know that there are some businesses that do lease some spaces for their employees to park at.
Yeah.
I mean, even the post office like has a lot of parking spaces that are rarely used beyond just that row that abuts the building itself.
Mhm.
It really does seem like there are just so many extra spaces that if we could identify them and agree that the public could use them. I can't imagine people love parallel parking right in front of the stores on Main Street when the
Yeah.
traffic is so tight. Like, I mean, unless you're like a really brave driver that loves to parallel park, that's pretty hairy.
So Greg, related to the parking opportunities on Bradford Street, are you saying like Bradford Street itself could have maybe parallel parking opportunities in addition to the big lot that you get to that's adjacent to Rideout? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that road is wide enough where I think they could continue that. If they were to think it through, they could continue putting in a sidewalk like they're talking about here. And you could do some like parallel parking along that and
Yeah.
have some spots run up that road.
Okay,
From what I saw and what I remember is there is space there.
yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so related to the streetscape improvements, I think we're saying there really aren't that many
No,
improvements.
they hadn't done it. All they did was if you drive past that, just drive past that road,
Yeah,
the sidewalk that you see, turn the corner and run to the street lamp that's right there,
yeah,
stops right there, and there's nothing else beyond that. So they
okay,
haven't done anything with that beyond that turn.
okay,
What you see from when you're standing at Deborah's or whatever's across the street from there, what you see to the left of the outdoor store is all you see, and that's it. There's nothing beyond that.
okay. Okay, great. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna see if we can make it through like 3 more of these to get to 60. And I know we have more to go beyond that, but like, let's see if we can get 3 more done and then we can turn to talking to about some other things, including parking. So this is now getting into the ones that I did, and this relates to decorative light fixtures, which I think are those like swoopy lamp posts that sometimes have flowers hanging off of them, but otherwise they're like black lamp posts and they all match each other. And they are like down lights that light the sidewalk and other places within the village. So I did kind of an inventory of where the lights are, and in some cases I said I was going to check back, and I'm not sure that I did, but I would say like those lights are fairly prevalent, like on Com Ave and in some cases Main Street in the village area, but they're not like consistent everywhere. So I guess I would consider this maybe like partially done. Now that it's dark earlier, I can probably do a pretty quick inventory of these, like when I get off the train some evening. Does anyone else have like lighting observations, even though you didn't work on this particular one, like lighting observations for the West Concord Village area?
I think the downward lights are dark sky.
Dark sky, okay, all right.
And I don't find them to be deficient in that area when I'm driving through a lot.
Okay. So you're saying there's enough light when you're driving through that you feel like that is helping you see and navigate?
Others may have a different opinion.
I think like I've not ever observed that I was hard pressed for light. I think I need to probably like scope out the entire area and it'll become clear where we still need to install lights if there are some missing. So yeah. Let's see. Okay, so Maple Court. I did wander through Maple Court pretty extensively, and it's like the street is in bad condition, not really like consistent sidewalks. It's like one street parallel to Com Ave. Like if you go behind Concord Outfitters, that is kind of like Maple Court. It's residential, it's business, it's like kind of an amalgamation of a lot of things. That's why I wrote down what is the zoning of it. I'm curious as to like why this had made its way onto the list of enhancements, because I mean it doesn't seem like it's like a heavily trafficked area within the village. It's more like the people who live there would be there, but otherwise not really. But I guess at some point someone thought that it should be enhanced.
So Maple Court is not a public road. It's a private road.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I thought maybe Elizabeth, we discussed before that this couldn't be done unless, every private property person. So it was unclear why this was proposed, because it's not workable.
Well, so it's a private road, so the town cannot expend funds to improve a private road.
It was included because when it was the fencing school, there was such heavy traffic there. It was like literally terrifying getting in and out of there. And maybe people thought the town needed to do something before someone got killed, but it's not the fencing school anymore.
It wasn't the fencing school when this was done either. It was a arts, right? Like a hobby store or something.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Dabblers.
And before that, car dealership.
Oh,
That
wow.
was a car dealership for a long time.
Shows you how long I've lived here.
Wow.
But I do remember that wonderful hobby shop. It was amazing.
Long
All right.
gone.
Yeah. So if I put that this is not a priority, would that upset anybody? I feel like it is probably like a project unto itself to unify all of the private property owners to agree on paving and improvements and stuff like that. And I think we might have bigger fish to fry, but let me know if you find yourself on Maple Court a lot and you feel like it is like a detrimental experience in the village.
I almost think not a priority is not strong enough. We have no
Jurisdiction.
ability to do anything there unless the private owners decide to get together and do something. I think the question that Allison asked a minute ago, which was why was this included to begin with?
Mm-hmm.
Was probably the right question, but
Yeah. Okay. So no jurisdiction, I think, so, yeah. Focus on other things. Okay. This next one, this is about acquiring some property. Okay. So this is about like acquiring the property where New Leaf used to be and now has moved out of. And I think that property is for sale and possibly sold already. Elizabeth, you may have more information on this, but it seemed like it got sold.
Yes.
Okay.
And, in fact, Jennifer Schulman and her husband purchased it, and they're gonna redevelop the property. I think they're looking into like some type of retail on the first floor and then, a guitar museum.
Oh, wow.
So they're moving forward.
Cool.
Yeah. So I've met with them once already. So when they get to some, the appropriate time, I did recommend them come to the West Concord Advisory Committee for your thoughts and input.
Yeah, we'd love to hear about it. So they're going to completely jettison the existing building and put something new up?
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so this is focus on other things.
That's also a no jurisdiction, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, I can say yeah, in no jurisdiction. Yeah, because this is private property. Okay. Looks like the recommendation, I guess 14 years ago, is an ice cream or coffee shop to enliven it. So we can always share those thoughts with Jennifer if we still think that that'd be a good idea. Let's see. Okay, we're on our last one here. Mandrioli Pocket Park enhancements complete. So this is like kind of adjacent to where that Bank of America kiosk was that Greg said got demolished. That's what I believe Mandrioli Pocket Park is. It's like kind of near Woods Hill Table. And
A nice little bench and a garden there too. It's across the street from Tea Cakes.
Like near the railroad tracks, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I know of it. Yeah, by the ATM. Yep. Old
and
age.
and then, so we can do one more because I think this is a really easy one. Junction Park enhancements, because that has been recently done. And I think a lot of the stuff listed here was done. Let's just keep. Renovate existing park, repair stairs and brickwork, yes. Reposition railroad crossing as a public art feature, yes. Shade trees, bike racks, lighting. Farmers market, we're not doing that. Expand, let's see, outdoor dining at Club Car Cafe. So a lot of this stuff is happening. I did mark this as complete. Would you guys agree that Junction Park and its renovation is pretty much complete?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so I think let's stop here. I'm gonna just make a note to myself.
How many more are there?
Okay. Let's see. There are, I think there are. Let's see, parks, open space. We have until 74 and we're at 61. Do you guys want to plow through?
No, I was hoping you were gonna say a couple, but
Yeah. No. So we can, let's see, we can polish these off next time. Yeah, I think we should try polishing these off next time. That will be early December. But in the meantime, I think what I'm gonna do, and you guys are welcome to contribute to this too, is figure out like what our status list for these different like unique statuses we have ascribed to the improvements should be. Like sometimes we're using the word complete, other times we're using the word done, sometimes we're saying partially done, other times, you know, partially completed. We put in a lot of notes, which I think is really good, but we're gonna have to like code these, so to speak, with like a status that another group could easily interpret and maybe sort the list or enable color coding or something like that. So I think for next time, we'll finish off the remaining rows and try to agree to a set of statuses that can be used across all of these. And I'm happy to like nominate some statuses. I can do that over email with you all and you can kind of weigh in. I'll share the link to this document as well, so you can take a look and see how those statuses would fit in here. Does that seem like a decent plan for finishing this off?
sure.
Okay. So in our remaining time, I did want to talk about parking challenges and what we can possibly do to help out with that situation. I'm going to stop sharing so we can just all see each other. Oh, Nicole, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I have a call at 9 o'clock.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we'll get through this quickly. My proposal on the parking kind of question / challenge in West Concord is that we should maybe divide and conquer, and each of us take a piece of the like businesses and adjacent parking and have a conversation with the people, the businesses who are stewarding that or might know something about it, and then get a sense for how it's being used, what those businesses' thoughts are about that parking, and just kind of take an inventory that we can use when we try to eventually get some signage done, propose how to like better assist visitors in navigating West Concord Junction in a car. That's kind of my proposal. I don't know, Elizabeth, does that sound crazy to you, or should we be using like documentation that you already have? I don't want to do double work, but I think it could be helpful for our committee to do this.
No, I think that's a great proposal, because everybody is just getting so meeting, overload.
Yeah.
And, you know, so what's the alternative? Oh, invite all the businesses to,
A
you know, a big
meeting.
meeting to have it, and it's just, and it's not, it's not working. You know, the select board just announced they are having, a commercial, you know, public forum in January for, you know, what does commercial development mean in the community? And you know, it's MCI Concord, it's, you know, before it was all the meetings, MBTA community, and so, no, I think it's a great idea.
Could we have a form with the questions that each of us should ask so that we're all covering the same?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's,
And is there an easy way to identify the businesses, like, I
that
don't,
are associated with the parking. Other than maybe like doing a Google Maps kind of overview and or just like walking around, I don't know.
Well,
just do it by section,
yeah,
I
let me,
guess?
yeah, let me see what we might have as it relates to parking.
Yeah, that would be super helpful. And if I could take that, Elizabeth, and I'm also fine getting on Google Maps and like swooping around and seeing what our different pockets of parking are, and then just doing like an assignment for each committee member or something. I mean, if you guys would be okay with that, try to make it like equally divided, and we could attempt to accomplish that before our next meeting so that we're able to share findings.
It would be nice for business owners to know that we're working on the project too, so they know.
Yeah.
To reach out to us if they have ideas or something.
Totally, yeah. And then the other thing I was kind of thinking of, and this is like conflating two ideas and maybe making it too complicated, but this idea that we talked about during our last meeting of a business improvement district in West Concord Village, like that involves the businesses really rallying around the idea and like possibly, you know, paying dues into some kind of fund that would then
Well,
be used to broadly
it's a whole thing, and I know that was on my list that I just saw. So let me, before you go too far down that path,
Okay,
let me send you the info that I have on bids,
okay,
and you can, because it's, you know, it is, there's an actual, you know, formation process, and you know, it's under, you know, state requirements, and so it's not just all the businesses get together, and it's
Okay.
pretty structured, so.
okay. Okay, yeah, that would be, it'd be helpful to know about that. So let's strike that off of the parking scope and just make the parking scope be about parking and developing relationships with these businesses. So in our last couple of minutes, maybe we should brainstorm together, what are the appropriate questions to ask? Is it just kind of like, I see that you have a parking lot adjacent to your business. Can you tell me, do you share that with other businesses here? Or how many spots do you have? I mean, is it that simple, or do you guys think we should be asking more complicated questions?
How about if we each send you 5 questions that we think would be valuable to know?
Okay, yeah,
You know, it'd be interesting, even just at the most basic level, to know, do they think parking is an issue? We may
Yeah.
be trying to solve a problem they don't think they have.
Yeah, I agree. Or
Yeah.
the converse could be true. No one's ever asked them and they're pulling their hair out about parking
Yeah.
and don't know what to do about it.
If
Yeah.
we each could send 5 questions, you know, and in the next, I don't know, week,
yep,
and then you could pull them together.
yep.
I definitely don't think you want to try and ask these people 25 questions, so, I mean, you
Yeah.
have to
No,
pair.
I'm presuming they're all gonna be very similar, but just
pick
to
the
frame
best.
it, otherwise we're all asking different things.
Pare it down.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would be great. Yeah, send me your questions and then we will, I'm sure there'll be some deduping, and then I'll try to grab, say, like the top 5 to 7 that would give us the most information. And then I can maybe put together like a form. We want to make sure that, you know, you get the name of the business owner and their business and their answers to the questions so that we can like combine the data together and kind of have a uniform way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
awesome. Okay, so I think we can probably think about adjourning. Let me just take a look and see what else. Membership liaison assignments, reports, public comment. Do we have any public here?
You do not.
Oh, they
No, I
ran
don't
away.
think we do. I don't think we do. So Allison, you talked a little bit about your liaison experience. Is there anyone else who has done liaising who would like to give us a summary?
I'm just keeping an eye on the agendas and there's a lot going on, but none of it's specific to the village right now.
Okay, awesome.
Right. The same thing for Public Works, like their meetings are during the business day, but according to the meetings, I don't think there's anything that's just about us.
Okay. Good to know. All right, well then, seeing that we have no further business, I propose that we adjourn.
Nicole has something.
No, I
Oh,
did
sorry.
the
Go ahead.
West Concord Cultural District.
Oh.
In their last meeting, they are also meeting tonight. And I really do feel like we should have group meetings with them, transportation, so that we can be on the same page, because I think there's a lot of issues that are similar with multiple groups that are interested in West Concord in particular.
Okay, so maybe we could try to do a group meeting like sometime early next year to kind of kick things off on the right foot, so we all are aware of what each other is working on and can complement all of that as opposed to duplicating effort. I think that's a great idea. Group meetings. All right, so I'll reach out to those folks, and then I also would love to get the Economic Vitality Committee like somehow looped into a meeting just as a guest presenter, or we figure out a way to understand what their initiatives are, because I think they're interested in West Concord too. Right, so seeing there's no further business, I make a motion that we adjourn.
You just need to adjourn.
All right,
Yeah,
we are
look, she
adjourning.
just like saying, it's all good.
You can do it. You have the power. Have a good night, everyone.
Okay, good night,
Bye.
everyone. Take care.